For both high and low-income tenants, rent has never been more reasonable, even as the cost of new leases is finally starting to decline. A crucial indicator of affordability, half of renters in America spend more than 30% of their income on housing, with middle-class renters experiencing the largest increases in financial burden. This is supported by a recent study by the Harvard Joint Center for Housing Studies, which discovered that in 2022, there were a record 22.4 million renters who were categorized as cost-burdened, an increase of 2 million from only 3 years prior. Of those households, 12.1 million experienced an all-time high for individuals with severe burdens, that is, housing costs that consumed more than 50% of their income. The spike in housing costs during the epidemic essentially did not spare any renters. 5.4 percentage points was the fastest rate of price increase for middle-class households earning between $45,000 and $74,000. Also, it increased noticeably by 2.6 percentage points for people making between $30,000 and $44,000. Both the richest and lowest earnings in the nation experienced an increase in their obligations. Lead author Whitney Airgood of Brickey stated of the affordability issue, "I expected to see it worsen, but I think it was shocking how much worse it got." The study, which uses recently made available data from the American Community Survey for 2022, is presented at a time when rent is still the primary cause of inflation in the country. The causes of previous price increases, such as backlogs in the supply chain or labor shortages, have greatly eased, which has helped to moderate inflation overall. But a sizable portion of people's personal finances are still consumed by exorbitant rent. Awaited reforms for the 44 million households in the nation that rent a home were introduced last year. According to RealPage, rent growth for professionally managed apartments fell to just 0.4% in the fall of 2023 from 15.3% in the beginning of 2022. Economists are waiting for official inflation numbers to reflect the shift. Rent prices aren't anticipated to return to pre-pandemic levels, even if rises slow down, which would drive out an increasing number of tenants with already tight budgets. Over the past few years, the challenge has attracted the attention of economists and policymakers on different occasions. Billions of dollars were set aside for emergency rental assistance in 2021 as a result of coronavirus aid legislation, but federal funds was sluggish to flow. In an attempt to halt a nationwide eviction wave, the Biden administration maintained the moratorium. Nonetheless, the Supreme Court eventually overturned the protection. Additionally, as pressure mounted on officials to address skyrocketing costs, the White House announced new measures to safeguard tenants last year. The downturn in the property market is almost over. However, proponents and specialists in housing observe that the nation's housing problems extend beyond sudden emergencies. Mortgage rates rose sharply as a result of the Federal Reserve raising interest rates, but the market as a whole remained hot. Certain households have escaped unharmed, particularly those who possess the funds to purchase a property or who are able to remain in a home they previously acquired at a discounted price. However, tenants frequently have fewer options for making the math work. The fact that there are simply not enough units available is a major factor. There has been improvement this year. Tens of thousands of freshly built homes are anticipated to become available. However, the Harvard study points out that not everyone would benefit equally, and that the increased supply won't lower housing costs for tenants of all income levels. Genuine Campbell was astounded to see how her rent for a two-bedroom apartment in Philadelphia went from $1,300 to $1,600 a month over the course of the previous 2 years. As her rent increased, her hours as a hotel valet were being reduced. She is a single mother of 4 children. When you factor in inflation and utility expenses, each month brought a difficult choice. Do you want to pay the bills and then give half the rent, or do you want to try to do the whole rent and then be back on bills? Says she. Although the rent is still significantly more than what Campbell can afford, she claims that the neighborhood isn't even secure enough for her children to play outside. You have to work in maybe a hospital or as a police officer just to keep up with the rent, she continues. In reality, a recently released analysis from Harvard University's Joint Center for Housing Studies indicates that a growing number of these households, as well as many others, now find it difficult to make ends meet. According to the report, a record half of American renters paid more than 30% of their income for rent and utilities in 2022, when rents increased due to the COVID-19 epidemic. More than 50% of those individuals were substantially cost-burdened, accounting for about half of their income. Lead author Whitney Airgood of Brickey, a senior research associate at the Institute, says we actually saw increases across every single income category that we look at, which sort of surprised us. The largest increase in unaffordability since 2019 has been seen in households earning between $30,000 and $74,000 annually. 30% of renters were still plagued by costs, even if they were employed full-time. According to Affordability, tenants under the $30,000 income threshold already suffer the most difficulty in finding affordable accommodation, so they didn't think it could possibly get that much higher. Yet the study discovered that it did go upward, reaching an all-time high of 83% of cost-burdened people. She claims that their monthly surplus, which covers all other household expenses, has decreased by almost half to just $310. Furthermore, she claims that people no longer always get to keep the concessions they used to make in order to earn less rent. Therefore, your area may not be as nice as it may be. It could be a longer commute for you. According to Affordability, you might be sacrificing the caliber of your educational system. And often what we're seeing is that even when people are attempting to make these trade-offs, they still end up paying too much for housing. The Harvard report states that last year saw a record high for homelessness in the United States. Home specialists and the Biden administration directly attribute this to a chronic shortage of available homes, which has contributed to price increases. The U.S. Interagency Council on Homelessness's executive director, Jeff Olivet, states that there are just not enough affordable homes available. And when you combine rapidly rising rent and it just costs more per month for people to get into a place and keep a place, you get this vicious game of musical chairs. The recent trend of double-digit rent increases is finally abating, with several areas experiencing decreases in rent. Additionally, a record number of units are being built, and when they become available, the tight vacancy rates will loosen. However, many individuals still live in higher-than-before prices, and the building boom is unlikely to reverse this trend. What we are building is at the high end because of the increased cost of construction, and because we have a lot of demand from higher-income renters, Albrecht says. Over the past 10 years, the majority of newly constructed apartments have cost $1,400 a month or more, and that's not affordable to the majority of renters. She also claims that millions of low-rent apartments that cost little more than $600 a month have left the market. Furthermore, these patterns are widening the long-term disparity in what people can afford. According to the Harvard study, all renters' median yearly income has increased by just 2% since 2001. Median rents have increased by 21%. As a result, millions more people are now eligible for government housing subsidies. However, funding for those has consistently lagged behind need, and the quantity available has gotten worse. This month, Campbell relocated her family to live with friends in Philadelphia instead of their pricey condo. She is earning a little extra money driving for Lyft and doing hair for folks on the side. In order to support her fresh start, she intends to stay until she receives her tax refund. She hopes to find some place for $1,000 or $1,100 a month, and she has already begun looking around for a less expensive house. Campbell describes it as like you're dreaming of a fairy tale, but I'm going to try to find something that I can handle. Subscribe to our channel for more informative videos like this. Thanks for watching.